at that point. It's just you just put a bowl of marshmallows in with some milk and eat that. So, anyways, a lot to get to on New England and the owners' meetings. Ben Volin of the Boston Globe now joining us on the Western Hotline at Ben Volin. You want to follow him on Twitter. Check out his stuff there. So, let's start with Diggs, Ben, and what New England wants from him. Your reaction to the contract. I mean, this happens with every player in the league. Get the sticker shock of the big number, the way that the media and the agents put it out, that it's what it's worth up to. Then the guaranteed money comes out. So what's your opinion on what they actually invested in Diggs and what they want from him as a role?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the full details yet, so all I know are, kind of the agent-produced numbers, which is 3 for $69 with $26 million guaranteed. Haven't seen the structure of it, but I like that they signed him to a 3-year deal. It takes a little bit of the pressure off this year. It's still probably going to be a prove-it year for Stephon Diggs coming off the ACL, and he'll probably have a little bit of money guaranteed in year 2, but it still will kind of be a prove-it year. But I like that they signed him to a 3-year contract, give him a little runway to develop a rapport with Drake May. Takes a little bit of the pressure off Diggs to be ready to go, for week 1, maybe they can move him, bring him along a little bit more slowly as he comes back from that ACL. Ultimately, to me, the price doesn't matter. Like, they got the player, and that's what's most important for the Patriots. I viewed Diggs and Brandon Ayuk were the 2 most realistic targets for the Patriots this year as far as acquiring a top-end receiver or someone who could be. They badly need that. They have the worst receiver room in the NFL, a bunch of number 3 and number 4 receivers, and it's been that way for several years now. They haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Julian Edelman in 2019. So they need talent. To me, they should still try to get Travis Hunter at number 4. That would be a slam dunk for them. If you could have Travis Hunter and Stephon Diggs as your top 2 wide receivers. So they needed to get Drake May some help, and they did it. They obviously had to overpay for Diggs, given that no one wants to come to New England, and it's still a place where they have to overpay and pay kind of a loser's tax to get people to come here. But I think most importantly, they got the player. They had the money to spend. They didn't spend any money last year, so it's good to see them spending in free agency this year. And the 2 big holes on the team were left tackle and wide receiver. They still need a left tackle, but I think Diggs, even at 31, even coming off an ACL, is going to be the best receiver they have there. And so I like the move for the Patriots. I think it was a no-brainer for them.
It's the second former Bills wide receiver they signed. The first was Mac Hollins, a fan favorite here in Buffalo, no doubt. He put together a nice AFC championship game. He actually led the team in touchdown receptions, maybe played a little bit more at the receiver spot than people anticipated. What about his role in New England? I did notice that he had his best season with Josh McDaniels in Vegas. How much did that play into the Patriots signing him?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part that there's a familiarity there with Mac Hollins, and they know exactly what type of player they're getting, and he's a guy who is going to obviously do a lot of work on special teams, but I expect him to be part of the offense, maybe the number 3 or number 4 receiver, similar to what he was in Buffalo and his last few stops, Miami and Las Vegas. Mac Hollins isn't going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but he's a 6'4" guy, a red zone target. He's been in the league. He's had good, solid production. So I think the Patriots, clearly the contract they gave him, they wanted Mac Hollins, and they know him well, and he's going to fit in the culture that Mike Vrabel is trying to establish here. So, Mac Hollins, initially he was the only receiver they signed, the Patriots, and so it wasn't exactly something to get too excited about. But now that they've added Stephon Diggs too, it's like, okay, and they got Mac Hollins as well, and they're bringing back Demario Douglas, their slot receiver, and Kayshon Boutte, kind of had a nice year as a deep threat. So now their receiver room is rounding into form a little bit more, and if they can add a Travis Hunter to it, I think all of a sudden the Patriots are going to have a decent set of weapons for Drake May on offense.
Ben Volin with us. By the way, has Hollins given you a taste of his crazy personality yet in any way? He's done, I'm sure, a press conference by this point.
I believe he did a press conference, and he did walk in barefoot.
Of course.
He wasn't wearing the Fred Flintstone costume or anything like that. But, everyone's well aware of him. I'm kind of pumped because I discovered he went to my rival high school. We're both from the DMV area outside of D.C., and he went to Wooten and I went to Churchill. So I'm going to have to give him talk some smack to him for that.
You just don't ask him to say where he went to college. So funny story, true story. I have to go around to the Bills players to get the lineup, them saying name, position, and school for radio for the starting lineups, right? So like you see on TV. And Mac Hollins went to North Carolina, and I said, "Hey, I need you to. Can you say Mac Hollins, wide receiver, North Carolina?" And he wouldn't say North Carolina, and I said, "Well, you could say. Why won't you say North Carolina?" And the reasoning was apparently like they didn't give him a scholarship. So he's like, hey, when they because I gave them so much money, I don't need to recognize them. I don't think he hated on them necessarily, the school, but he wouldn't do it. It was he shunned them for that, Ben.
Yeah,
that's interesting because my coworker Chris Price just wrote a profile of Mac Hollins in yesterday or today's paper, and it said he went to UNC as a walk-on, but then it said they gave him a scholarship after a year. So, maybe he still holds some lingering bitterness there, or maybe he didn't get the full scholarship. I don't know, but that is an interesting point to keep in mind.
Yeah. So you've mentioned this a couple times about Hunter and him being a receiver. I've said this too, that just not even talking to you or anyone from the Patriots media, that just you look at the rosters and what the needs are. If Travis Hunter goes 4 to New England, like that's to me where he would play the most receiver, most obviously. And if he were to be the pick, Ben, isn't this whole offseason just the linemen they've signed? They signed Bradbury, right? They've added a couple pieces up there. Drake May showed some really nice things in year one. I really liked what he showed as a rookie. He was under pressure a lot. And how do you feel that they are doing right now when it comes to surrounding him with enough to take the next step? And would Hunter just kind of be the cherry on top for that? Would he be kind of a critical piece of that, like number one receiver right away level of player? How do you see the whole big picture with May standing at the center of it?
Yeah, I think it's probably not fair to Travis Hunter to expect him to come in and already be like a dominant number one receiver. It's interesting. I was talking to Mike Tannenbaum the other day, the former Jets and Dolphins GM, and he thinks Travis Hunter should be a cornerback who plays 15 snaps a game on offense. And to me, if that's how you analyze him, if that's how you evaluate him, I don't know if I would take him at number 4, because to me the Patriots don't need a cornerback in today's NFL. Actually, is not nearly as important as a wide receiver. I mean, the idea of it's hard. It's really, really hard to be a shutdown corner in today's NFL with the NFL trending towards a quick passing offense and shorter, safer passes. It's really hard for corners to shut down. And you see that in the salary structure now. There's way more guys making $20 million on offense than there are guys at cornerback. It's trending less to being a real premium position. So if you don't have Travis Hunter evaluated as a full-time wide receiver, I don't know if you would take him at number 4. Personally, I would, because I just think wide receiver is, like I said, is a more important position right now than corner. And the thing holding the Patriots back is just a total, lack of playmakers on offense. They've been 31st and 30th in scoring the last 2 years, and just no one who can beat one-on-one coverage. So maybe if he comes in and is a receiver, Diggs in theory would be the number 1, but maybe with his ACL, coming back from that, maybe he's a little slow to return. But Travis Hunter, I mean, I would play him at wide receiver, and to me that would be a home run for the Patriots just because of how bad their offense has been, and particularly at wide receiver, and they haven't been able to get anyone. I mean, they tried to trade for Brandon Ayuk last year, and they offered him a massive contract, and Ayuk said, no thanks, I don't want to go there. And Calvin Ridley turned down their money. And, several
Godwin this year too, right?
Chris Godwin. Apparently the Patriots were writing him blank checks, and they couldn't get him to come. And I think what you're seeing in the NFL is if you want an elite talent, you have to draft him. Very rarely do these guys change teams and get away. You've got to draft the elite talent. So getting Travis Hunter would be a big win for the Patriots, because otherwise they are having trouble getting guys to come to New England. They have to way overpay them like they do for Stephon Diggs. Diggs was kind of the key piece to me. I liked what the Patriots had done in free agency. They really beefed up the defense. They got Milton Williams from the Eagles. They got cornerback Carlton Davis from the Lions, Robert Spillane, a linebacker from the Raiders. All nice moves, but it was incomplete until they really fixed the offense. Now, Stephon Diggs, I think, will go a nice ways to doing that. They still need to find a left tackle, But with all the money they've spent, close to $200 in guaranteed money this year, to me the linchpin is really Stephon Diggs because they have to improve the offense and get Drake May some weapons.
Is there anybody who's left that hurts this team in some capacity, whether it's Godshaw, Jonathan Jones, Dietrich Wise, anybody? They brought in a lot of guys. Anybody that's left that you say, you know what, that would have been the guy that we've been nice to hold on to?
Probably not too many. And
Right.
That was the problem with the Patriots roster last year. It was a bunch of who are these guys,
Mm-hmm.
And like Devon Gottschall is still a good player, a run-stuffing defensive tackle, but I think they got rid of him because of a scheme change. I think they're trying to go lighter and quicker at defense, similar to what Vrabel did in Tennessee. And like they view Milton Williams as their version of Jeffrey Simmons. So like Devon Gottschall doesn't fit in like that. I guess David Andrews, the center, I'm a little surprised given how much of a leader he is in the locker room. He knows, obviously, Josh McDaniels' offense very well. David Andrews is a guy that everyone really leaned on last year, including Drake May, even after Andrews got hurt. So I was a little surprised they kind of unceremoniously cut David Andrews. But, he is a 10-year veteran coming off a shoulder injury. He's always been undersized, which is why he went undrafted in the first place. The Patriots failed him on his physical, so obviously they don't know, injury-wise how good he's going to be this year. So I guess I was a little surprised that they, cut a team leader like that. But, football-wise, I do think that one made sense too.
What last one on New England? I'm going to get to some of the quickly on some of the league owners meeting stuff with you. You're going down there. Some of the over/under win totals came out this week in New England. I saw, at least at ESPN, was I think 7.5. What expectations for them this year? Is that about what expectations are, which is step up, maybe competing for a playoff spot, even squeaking in? Is that realistic to you, the idea that they could turn it around that quickly, go from bottom of the league to maybe competing for a playoff spot to the end of the year?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I don't think they're going to threaten the Bills for the division title yet or be a real AFC contender, but there's absolutely no reason why the Patriots can't be a playoff team this year. 3 teams this past year went from last place to the playoffs, most notably the Commanders. And they didn't have a tremendous roster. They got Jaden Daniels, and he was a big difference in the new culture there with Dan Quinn. So there's no reason you can't have a similar kind of breakout with Mike Vrabel now, with Drake May in year 2. They're not spending $200 million guaranteed to, go 7-10, to be honest. I think that would be kind of a disappointment. The last time they did this was 2021. They spent a ton of money in free agency, brought in guys like Hunter Henry, Matthew Judon, Kendrick Bourne, and that was Mac Jones' rookie year. And they went from, missing the playoffs the previous year under Cam Newton to 10-7 with Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. So to me, there's no reason why the Patriots can't go 9-8, 10-7, make the playoffs. It's probably best case scenario, but they have a lot more talent now. They spent all this money. They've got, I think, a much better coach. And look, they went 4-13 last year, and it was pathetic. They had the worst roster, the worst offensive talent, the worst offensive line, a coach in Gerard Mayo who, with all due respect, didn't really know what he was doing, and newcomers all across the board on the coaching staff. And they still won 4 games and could have easily won 7, with a little better coaching and a couple bounces. So I definitely see the Patriots bouncing back, being more competitive, and remaining alive for the playoffs through Week 18, and we'll see if they can sneak into a wild card spot.
So you're going down to the league owners meetings with Salas too. The thing that Diana Rossini was tweeting about today that I'm interested in, because the kickoff stuff, unless you disagree with this, I don't know, the kickoff stuff feels like that probably passes where the touchback goes to the 35-yard line. I have not been thinking throughout this week and before that the tush push would get banned. But then I saw this tweet from Diana Rossini this morning about that there's growing appeal maybe to ban it. How does that look to you in your eyes? Before, you're not there yet, but the idea that they would ban it and whether or not they should ban it.
Well, so that I saw that tweet from Diana too this morning, and I'm curious because, it doesn't matter what GMs and team presidents and agents and players say. It comes down to what the 32 owners have to say. And so I'd be curious, is she talking to owners or people underneath the owners? Because what the people underneath the owners say doesn't really matter. And, generally speaking, the owners will follow the recommendations of the competition committee. And the competition committee doesn't seem like they want to ban the tush push, mostly because it's barely used in the game. I saw some stats that the tush push was used on 0.2% of plays in the NFL season, and only 2 teams even called it more than 5 times, the Eagles and the Bills. And the Bills weren't even good at it. They got stuffed over and over in the playoffs. So you really would just be penalizing the Eagles here. And I think the competition committee is wary about, establishing new rules that really only affect one team. That said, I always go back to, I think it was the 2018 season, where it was after Sean Payton and the Saints got jobbed in the playoffs with, a missed pass interference. And they were talking about, do we want to make pass interference reviewable by instant replay? And all spring, the competition was like, we are not for this. This is bad. We've never been and then the owners went and passed it anyway.
Right. So,
and they passed it for 1 year, and it was a disaster, and they got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are a bunch, 24 teams that think the tush push is just ugly and not real football. But frankly, I'd be surprised if they ultimately voted that way. Just based on what the competition committee is saying. And I agree with that line of thinking. Like, why are we going to, just because it looked ugly and just because the Eagles are good at it, because they have Jalen Hurts who can squat 600 pounds, why should we ban a play? Maybe come up with a way to stop it. And it's not like it's taken over the league or anything. It's just one team that does it well. So I personally would be surprised if they banned it. I would not be for it. My vote doesn't matter, of course. But all that really matters is whether 24 owners agree. And usually, like, they have these presentations. The competition committee will go over the pluses and minuses of a rule and kind of recommend what the owners should do. And usually they listen to them, but not always. So to me, it's still kind of up in the air.
Hey, real quick, what is going on with Joe Milton? He plays one game against the Bills, looks great. I mean, I'm on the sidelines watching this guy. I'm like, holy cow. I mean, he's got some skill. Now, I get it was against the Bills, primarily backup defense, but, now all of a sudden they signed Josh Dobbs, and it looks like they're looking to deal this guy. What's going on with him?
Yeah, I definitely think they signed Josh Dobbs kind of as insurance, to trade Joe Milton. And I don't think they're not going to just give Joe Milton away. Mm-hmm. I think they really want to cash in on that investment. He did fall in the 6th round. Yeah. So teams passed on him time and again last year, knowing that he's a physical freak at 6'5" and can throw the ball 90 yards and do standing backflips. So they still let him fall to the 6th round. But then once you see him on the field and see what he can do, it's like, man, I mean, there's always a coach out there who's like, oh, I can harness him and I can make him a superstar. And I mean, his arm talent is just insane. I mean, the way he throws and just whips the ball into these tight windows is very impressive. So I definitely think the Patriots are looking to trade him. If they can get a 3rd-round pick before the draft, I think you jump at the opportunity to cash in a 6th-rounder for a 3rd-rounder in just 1 year. Would be a good return on investment. I think they are looking to move him just to give Drake May a little bit of breathing room. I mean, you're trying to establish your young quarterback. The last thing you want is this uber-talented other young quarterback just kind of sitting there, and every time Drake makes a mistake, it's like, what can Joe Milton do? Right. So I do think they are kind of motivated to trade him. The Giants looked like a decent spot. The Cowboys, I was told, look out for maybe the Dallas Cowboys getting a better upgrade to Dak Prescott. The Steelers still might make some sense. I think they're, and he's locked in for 3 years on a minimum salary contract. So the guy is a total lottery pick. It's like, for a 3rd-round pick, why not? You pay him nothing. You can cut him if you need to, if it doesn't work out. And his talent is just, the potential is off the charts. So I definitely see a Joe Milton trade coming. If the Patriots can get a 3rd-round pick, great. And if not, you give him the preseason to kind of showcase himself.
Ben Volin, the Boston Globe, at Ben Volin on Twitter. Great stuff as always. I don't know if you're coming up to St. John Fisher this year, but if you are, we'll have to get another golf round in.
Well, now I might have to make the trip just based on that invitation alone. So thank you.
Love the roster.
I'll see you Sunday, Monday, and into next week in some nice 85-degree weather poolside.
You guys.
Can't wait, Sal. Can't wait, my friend.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Ben Volin, Wester Hotline. Yeah,